Hey guys, how the hell are you? Time once again for an all-new unbiased gear review. On this, the Schecter Hellraiser C6, as in CVI, Roman numeral 6. So first of all, some specs on this absolute unit. We have got a mahogany body with a quilted maple top, a real top on this, rosewood fingerboard, mahogany neck with carbon fiber reinforcement rods. Why does it have carbon fiber reinforcement rods, you ask? Because it is a monolithic 30-inch baritone scale, meant to be Schecter's answer to a sort of cry out for a more modern metal version of a bass six. That awesome instrument of yore that honestly is kind of making a little bit of a comeback in heavy music circles lately. In addition to that, we do have locking tuners. We have a Graphtec nut, Tune-o-matic style bridge down here. The strings that come on this thing factory installed are a custom set from Ernie Ball that are 24 through 90. We have EMG 81 and 89 pickups that are tappable with push-pull knobs on the volume pots there. 2 volumes, a tone, and a 3-way blade switch. So, first impressions, getting this thing out of the box. This is a strikingly gorgeous instrument with this beautiful black cherry finish that's on here. Nice transparent red. It's got the typical Hellraiser appointments. Love them or hate them, it is loaded with abalone. It's something that honestly, yeah, not for everybody, but they've been making them like this for kind of about 2 decades now, so at this point, we just need to accept it. Honestly, though, I think it looks rad. I think it looks awesome. It's a nice kind of regal touch to the instrument, as metal as it is. The feel is very, very familiar for any of us that own or have owned any other Schecter instruments in this sort of C body style that they make. It's got the arch top on there, very familiar with that. The thing that honestly gets you right off the bat with this is the 30-inch scale. It's one of those things like, whoa, WTF, how do I adjust to this? And honestly, pretty easily. It was instantaneous almost. As soon as I picked this thing up, I was like, damn, this is feeling extremely familiar, almost like this is kind of something that I should have had in my arsenal for many, many years, and I've just kind of slept on it. This is literally the first baritone guitar I have ever owned, not including any sort of like multi-scale extended range instrument. But yeah, no, adjusting to this was honestly super duper easy. The 30-inch scale, straight scale, is something that has thrown me on instruments in the past, like that 9-string that I used to have. But on here, it just seemed very, very familiar, especially when you're playing it standing up and you've got the instrument slung low a little bit. Almost feels like you're playing just a shorter scale bass. Not all that uncomfortable, to be honest with you. Playing chords is fine. Everything rings out nice and crystal clear, thanks to the fact that they are compensating the string tension a little bit with these thicker gauge strings that they've got on here. So everything kind of rings out nice and clear. Up and down the neck, no dead spots whatsoever, none to speak of. Also up and down the neck, really awesome fret ends. Oh my god, these things are nice and pretty. Little bit rounded off, but not something like ball end, like a super high-end luthier, but at the same time, nicely rounded off. Very, very comfortable. There is a little bit of binding along the fretboard edge. That undoubtedly is also making it a little bit more comfortable and a little bit easier to kind of slide up and down the neck. It's kind of hiding those fret tangs on the ends there. It's just a super comfortable instrument, exactly what we should be expecting from the Schecter line that comes out of world music. So in that regard, I've got no complaints to speak of. The nut is a little teeny tiny bit smaller than the fretboard edge, but that's okay. It's not like you're gonna be sitting up here playing up around the nut too much anyway. Or you might be. You might be playing up there trying to like bend behind the nut, getting some weird goofy noises from time to time, but honestly, like, it's one of those things that's barely noticeable to me. The locking tuners doing their job, holding this thing down nice and tight up here. The Tune-O-Matic bridge is one of those things that you don't really see a lot on bass 6 style instruments. So to see that on this guitar was a little different and a little bit of an interesting choice, but I dig it because there again, something that I'm familiar with this series, something I'm familiar with this brand. And honestly, it's holding up rather nicely, and I'm getting to do some weird goofy noises behind the bridge a little bit too. Besides that, taking a look at this thing with a fine-tooth comb, no other quality control call-outs that I can make mention of. Although, once again, if I'm gonna be nitpicky, I think if you're gonna have as much stuff flush in the body as possible, let's have everything be flush in the body. So the jack plate itself could have been recessed a little bit more. The battery cover could have been recessed in just a little bit as well to match the control cover, which is very nicely recessed. That is me being super nitpicky though. Honestly, this whole instrument is super well built. I don't have really any real significant complaints about it. So how does this thing sound? Honestly, pretty goddamn awesome. Ever since I got this thing, it's been super inspiring to play on. So as I'm sure you guys are noticing, this thing is tuned significantly lower than what the factory tuning is. The factory tuning is just like a typical bass 6. Same as a guitar, just an octave lower and with super heavy gauge strings on here. The strings that I've got on here now are a new set that are, if I remember right, 26 through 95. However, the set that I ordered came with 2 of the same string right here, 2 34s. So I thought, hey, you know what? This is the universe telling me I also need to dive into alternate tunings as well as a baritone. So this thing is tuned a bit lower, like I said. It is tuned C sharp, G sharp, C sharp, A sharp, A sharp, D sharp. So I've got a little bit of opportunity for dissonance as I go through this. Something about this thing through like the Fortin Nameless suite, which is the plugin that I'm using, that's what you're hearing behind me. That just sounds so massive, so amazing. I am so inspired to play on this. Admittedly, in super ridiculous low tunings, this EMG 81, it's doing what you would expect an EMG 81 to do. The neck pickup, the EMG 89, that's where it especially sounds a little bit different. Now, granted, it is a little bit further along the scale itself, so it's hitting a little bit of a different sort of harmonic sweet spot than it normally would. Definitely doesn't sound necessarily as warm as you typically expect from this pickup. Not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not exactly an owner of this instrument for the purpose of getting warm vintage tones. I'm looking to get something kind of a lot more brutal and abrasive. it just sounds so stupid and gnarly that you can't help but just sit here and get lost in the chugs. It's really just kind of made for that, for doing stupid chug riffs, and goddamn, I love it so much for that. So overall, my final thought, this guitar at this point is kind of an indispensable tool in my studio. Since I've gotten it a few weeks ago, it's kind of been the only thing I've been playing lately because I've just had so much fun with it. Whether or not it's going to become a main instrument of mine honestly remains to be seen. It's still something that's super new, super fresh. Maybe I'm just in the honeymoon phase with it, but damn if I'm not super inspired on this thing, and I'm trying my best to get acclimated to it and to try some new things stylistically thanks to what this thing does with low tunings and with a more modern sound thanks to the typical Hellraiser appointments of the EMG pickups. I mean, it is what it is. Is it a guitar that's meant for everybody? No, but if you are looking to experiment, if you are looking for something to do those brutally low tunings and you're not necessarily into the idea of getting something that's extended range, you just want something that feels familiar, that's 6-string but is gonna have the string tension you need, this is a damn winner of an instrument that's sitting perfectly in that sort of sweet spot between all these cheaper made instruments that have been coming out lately to try to fall into that niche of a bass 6, but at the same time much less expensive than a full custom shop guitar. So I absolutely dig this instrument. I'm really loving it. Digging is not a good enough term for it. I'm kind of in love with it. And hopefully I can produce some new tunes with it coming up here in the near future. But Arnold, what are you drinking today? I am so glad that you asked. Today I am having something really different and interesting, or at least I am anticipating this being really different because this is something that I recently found in my travels. I was like, that seems weird. I wonder what it's going to be like. This is Gulden Draak Cuvée Prestige, that is a Belgian strong ale, 10.5% ABV, but it has been further barrel aged in Lefroy Scotch barrels. We all know and love barrel aged stouts and barrel aged ales and what that sort of bourbon barrel aging process can do to the beer. But to put this into an Islay Scotch barrel, for those of you guys that don't understand what that is, ask your friends that drink. They'll tell you all about the wonders of peat. And Lefroy is arguably one of the peatiest scotches out there. I can only imagine what this is going to be like. Oh. Who? Oh. Whoa. That is odd. Oh, that is so odd. For a more in-depth review, by the way, head to my new channel, youtube.com/ArnoldDrinks. This is going to be a very sad video on that channel, I can already tell. It has a weird smell to it that's like a halfway point between dust and barbecue. That is weird. All right, cheers. Oh, God. That is odd. That is very odd. That has a lot of that sort of peat smoke in there. It's lending a little bit of a barbecue-like quality to this, but oh, does it have those kind of typical peat notes of like ash and dust and just swampy bog water smoke. It is weird. And I'm actually filled with a little bit of regret for this. This is maybe a little too weird. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel. Tons more of this content to come. And as always, remember, take what you do seriously. Do not take yourselves too seriously.